Touch Me Daddy. Written by K. Ashley. Chapter 1. Derek. Managing my own cybersecurity business was incredibly stressful. Every day, I had to deal with the challenges of running a billion-dollar enterprise, all while staying on high alert for the next cyber attack. By the time I got home at night, I was so drained that I couldn't fathom interacting with anyone else. That's why I decided to make the East Residences my home. With its lavish amenities, including maid service and valet parking, and a peaceful ambience, the East Residences had everything I needed to unwind. Plus, my best friend Spencer Maxwell lived just a few floors up, making it the perfect place to kick back and relax. In short, I was living the good life, free from stress and enjoying all the luxury the East Residences had to offer. Taking a deep breath, I submerged myself into the refreshing waters and swiftly glided across the pool. The infinity pool on the 51st floor was, without a doubt, my favorite amenity in the entire building. Swimming had been a passion of mine for as long as I could remember. In fact, my high school swimming accolades led me to transfer to Princeton to join their swim team. Whenever I had the pool to myself, I would pretend I was in a college competition, racing against the clock to achieve my personal best. Not only did this keep me mentally sharp, but it also helped me maintain my physical fitness and stay in sync with my surroundings. And boy, did it feel invigorating. As I reached the pool's edge and lifted my head out of the water, I noticed someone entering the pool area. Despite the water streaming over my goggles, I could still make out the person's stunning physique, complete with long and tantalizing legs. It was none other than Skye, Spencer's daughter, who had recently returned from college. I removed my goggles and shook the water out of my hair, unable to take my eyes off her. I had rented the pool for a few hours, but I was more than happy to have her there, especially since she was sporting a cute little bikini. A grin spread across her face as she spoke. "Hey there, mind if I join you for a swim?" "Of course not," I replied, using my hand to push my hair back. She gracefully made her way into the water, basking in its welcoming embrace. "This is incredible," she exclaimed. "I know, right?" I responded. "So, are you happy to be back from college?" She let out a sigh and ran her fingers along the pool's glass edge before responding, "Yeah, I miss having fewer responsibilities, but I guess it was bound to happen sooner or later." I chuckled and replied, "Tell me about it. I'd do anything to go back to Princeton." She looked at me and bit her bottom lip. "That's right. You're a Princeton boy. I totally forgot about that." I teased, "I don't think we should be in the same pool together. A Yale student and a Princeton student. It's bound to get interesting." She laughed and added, "You just swim circles around me. I've seen your moves. I'd be lucky to complete one lap." I shook my head and replied, "Nah, you're in great shape. It's all about technique. I could show you." "Really?" she asked, intrigued. "Absolutely, anytime," I replied as I swam backward. I knew it was probably not the best idea to flirt with this girl, but I couldn't resist her charm ever since she moved in with her father at the East Residences after returning from school. Her curves were just right, and her bouncy blonde hair and piercing ice blue eyes had a way of looking deep into my soul. Plus, beneath her self-assured exterior, she had a pure heart and a sharp mind, making her all the more alluring. I swam over to the edge of the pool, and she dove below the surface before resurfacing. Water cascaded down her voluptuous, bouncing breasts and over her entire body. Her bikini top consisted of two tiny pieces of fabric held together by threads. As I turned to look at her, she opened her eyes and flashed me a mischievous grin. I kept reminding myself that she was the daughter of my best friend and therefore off limits, but my desire for her was too strong. She swam over to me and stopped in front of me, then reached out and ran her hands over my muscles. "How much swimming did it take to get those muscles?" she asked, locking her gaze with mine. "Among other things," I replied with a smirk. "What other things?" she inquired, eyeing me up and down. "Just the usual daily routine," I responded, trying to keep my cool. She shot me a sly grin and glanced over my chest, sending shivers down my spine. Suddenly, my swim trunks started to feel uncomfortably tight. It was quite difficult for me to maintain my composure as I desperately wanted to fuck this girl and wanted to grab her by that little bikini of hers. I was aware that it was wrong, but with each step I took, my willpower weakened. The water lapped about us as we stood there so near to one another that we almost touched. She gave me a sly look as she ran her hands through her soaking wet hair and raised her hands. I took a long, steadying breath to prevent myself from bending forward and taking a nipple into my mouth as her tits jiggled in front of my face. I let out a long breath and spoke up. "Sky, I've noticed a new flirtatious side to you. It's something I haven't seen before." She walked to my side, grinning and giggling to herself as she stared down at the water's surface. She reached out and ran her finger down my arm as she turned her head to look at me. She bit her lip and leaned in close to my ear, which I could see out of the corner of my eye. She said, "It's because I want you." A jolt of electricity surged through my chest, overwhelming me completely. I lost all my restraint and turned my head towards her, looking straight into her eyes. Without any hesitation, I wrapped my arm around her waist and covered her face with my other hand. I leaned in and tilted her head while giving her a passionate kiss on the lips. I tasted her by sliding my tongue directly into her mouth and swirling it around. My hand moved deeper beneath the water and cupped her cheek as she groaned quietly. She dropped her hands underwater while holding the waistband of my swim trunks as her muscles slowly loosened. The tip of my cock, which was now rubbing against my suit, was lightly touched by her fingers as they descended further. I wanted to feel her entire hand encircling my shaft, so I moaned into her neck. I drew her near to me and kissed her on the mouth, neck, and chest with my lips. As my fingertips skimmed across her delicate, supple skin, she reclined her head and shut her eyes. Her top was showing her rock-solid nipples. I moved the object out of the way, knelt down, and popped one nipple into my mouth. When I flicked my tongue around her tit, the flavor of her skin sparked intense excitement in my cock. She leaned back and began gently groaning as her hands clung to the top of my trunks. With my other hand, I lifted her other breast and stroked it. Her hand inserted itself inside my trunks, grabbing hold of my cock, and gently started to rub it. I bit down firmly and raked my tongue across her flesh as I snarled. She started yanking at my suit's ties right away, frantically trying to get my cock out of its confines. My hand remained attached to her breast as I propelled my hips forward. She unzipped my trunks and slipped them down my legs while the water swirled all around us. She grabbed my erection as she peered through the water at me. Her hand inserted itself inside my trunks, grabbing hold of my cock, and gently started to rub it. I bit down firmly and raked my tongue across her flesh as I snarled. She was so fucking sexy, and I knew this was wrong, but I didn't give a damn. Follow and subscribe to get notified when we post the next chapters.